as it has been until now, that situation is stigmatized. You want to talk about menopause and people look at your sexuality. Okay, not sexuality, your sexual drive. Your libido is low. So what are you good for? We have been cultured, unfortunately, to think that women are supposed to be there to give sex and give it to that person whenever the person needs it, without asking you a question: are you ready, or are you not ready? The doctor has brought up, the doctor has brought out something very, very important. There's a vaginal dryness. That is not a person that is ready to engage in sexual intercourse, because one, it will be painful. There will be there will be the tearing. Number two, you meet somebody and you're not even happy. You're not excited about meeting them. Or even your husband is a problem. You know, you look at him and you wonder, what are you saying? I don't want to hear what you're saying, what you're talking about. You know, I don't even touch. I don't like you. Don't touch me, you know?
Okay, that is a conversation that we started last week on menopause, and we're looking at the things that we are never prepared for. And despite the fact that sometimes we talk about menopause in our groups, in our settings, even in our families, but most of the time there's some things that really are still misunderstood. And that is why we said we must continue with this conversation today, and that is embracing the change that we are never prepared for. And what is it that we need to do in terms of just, first of all, understanding, but also understand how we can support, but also hear from the ladies. Wako hapa watuambie, wako aje sai, you know, and what is it that they are experiencing during the process. So just in case you are tuning in right now, the conversation is on the menopause roadmap, and we're looking at navigating the emotional and psychological journey. We have a full panel this morning, but before you meet them, we have a question for you this morning, okay? And it's a slightly different question than what we asked you last week, okay? So this morning, the question that we are asking you is pretty much simple, okay? The question is, what myth about menopause needs to be broken today, like today, okay? Not anytime soon, today. What are some of the myths about menopause that needs to be broken as soon as now, okay? So that the next time we talk about menopause, we don't talk about it from a point of stigma and shame, but we do it from a point of understanding, okay? So what myth about menopause needs to be broken today? At NTV Kenya, across all board is how you can reach us on our digital platforms, and that is at NTV Kenya, either on Instagram, on X, and on Facebook. It's at NTV Kenya. And at the same time, we have our new WhatsApp number, okay? So feel free to engage with us as well on our WhatsApp number, which will be down on your screen in just a second. But really, just tell us, what is it that, you know, we need to break as far as myths are concerned about menopause? Because it affects different people, okay? Mostly ladies, not different people really. We're talking about ladies today. And it is a natural occurrence. So the biggest question is that if it's a natural occurrence, then why do we still stigmatize? Why do we still, or for some women, still find it difficult to talk about it in open spaces or even in their families, amongst their families? Why is it sometimes difficult to talk about it? So today we go deeper into really understanding what is it that we can do to make sure that we support the women, but also understand and not stigmatize, okay? So the panel is full. The same panel that we had last week is the same panel that we have this morning. So I'm just gonna start on my immediate left, and we have Dr. Kabugo Kamau, who is a certified, we said certified, is the word, certified menopause practitioner. Good to see you, Dr. How are you?
I am well.
You look very nice. The red is like, you know, the red is doing the thing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making the time. And before we talk to Bishop, Bishop, lazima tusikie sauti yako. So watch, I will sort something and then we'll come to you, okay? But next to Bishop, we have Wanjiru Mwangi, who is here again to just share her experience as far as perimenopause, okay? And the things that she experienced and the changes that she noticed and where she is at right now. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you,
Africa, you're representing, Thank you so much for making the time.
This is my vibe.
You look absolutely
amazing.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you for making the time this morning. And next to Wanjiru, we have Nancy Kabiru, who is a mental health psychologist, joining us this morning as well for the conversation. You look nice. She's just like, you know, she's seated like, good to see you. You look amazing. Thank you so much for making the time. Bishop tumekufikia sasa. Bishop Grace Mudhoni Dalizu. She was here yesterday for Relationship Tuesday, but leo amekuja in a different capacity, okay? So thank you so much for making the time, Bishop. And last week when we started the conversation, both you and Wanjiru were telling us your experiences and first of all, what it felt. You said you never experienced perimenopause. Yako ilikuja hua.
Yeah.
Menopause. Nobody warned you about it. And then Wanjiru was as well, just in case someone missed out, you said you were never lactose intolerant. Haya. What are some of these other things that you experienced before we talked to Doc and Nancy?
I think for me, I keep saying, you're supposed to have, Doc can tell us, I think they're all of 140 symptoms. I think I've experienced 120 of them.
Ooh.
The strange things. I said it started at 38.
Yes.
So little shifts. First you start questioning a lot of things and you want to know, who am I? What am I doing? You fall out with people because your tolerance for nonsense also really reduces.
Yeah.
Your threshold goes way down. And I remember that's the time I started really seeking inwards. Who am I? What am I doing? What do I want? And around that time I also got divorced. I don't think it had anything to do with perimenopause, but I guess I also got to realize who I really am and what my non-negotiables are.
Yeah.
Then there is as I said the last time, my kids would say that I'm going to drop the thunder on people because your tolerance is so little.
Yes.
It takes something very little to tip you off. And you get tipped off and you give somebody a whole, you read the riot act until somebody wonders, that was a bit uncalled for.
Yeah.
Then now on the health side, weight gain is not going fast. I used to hike. I'm an avid gym enthusiast. I love working out.
Yeah.
But the more you work out, yes, you're fit, but the weight is just not dropping as fast. I stopped hiking because my knees started hurting.
Yeah.
I realized last week when we had the session that it could have had something to do with it. And I used to love my cup of tea. I would have tea in the morning, tea at 10. Suddenly, even today when I take tea, my stomach really acts up. I'm lactose intolerant, which didn't make sense. And I was in denial for a while. I'm like, no, this disease of mzungus.
Right?
No.
Like that's not ours.
But now I've settled, I'm like, anyway, I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm going to have my black tea.
Yeah.
Gluten, wheat. Suddenly, when I take my chapati, my pastries, which I so love, my stomach immediately acts up. So you find that the big health changes, the small mental shifts, actually they're not small, mental shifts are really big. And if you do not talk about it, it just helps because I love winning my story. So me, I keep talking about me. I'll say, by then I'm feeling like this. I don't know what's up. And people are looking at you like, and I remember going to the doctors and they're like, I'm too young. Then I realized I'm not dying. This is perimenopause. So I started talking about it a lot. I tell anybody who can listen. And people are like, my goodness, you're so brave.
Yeah.
You can talk about this. But I'm like, it's real life issues.
Right, and it's one of the things that we also discussed last week and said majority of the women go through this alone because you talk about it, people are like, but you're not the first one to go through it, so why are you making a big deal out of it? And that's why we're saying thank you so much actually really for sharing that part. But Nancy, can we also talk about hormones and the different changes and how all these things come about? Because I don't know, like for us women, it's like anything and everything, it just revolves around our hormones, no?
Yes, they do, especially for women because we do have our cycle, but around the time one is hitting perimenopause, menopause, the progesterone and estrogen, which are body hormones, are starting to fluctuate, and sometimes there are times when the production is not enough. So that is within the body system. Then we have what is in the brain. There are brain chemicals, which we call neurotransmitters, which are regulated and communicate with the estrogen and progesterone. The brain chemicals are dopamine and serotonin and GABA. So when there is dysregulation in the rest of the body, even in the brain, there is dysregulation. And that is why you will notice then a woman will become very anxious because the emotional center of the brain does not have enough chemicals to allow the right communication. So they get affected mentally, and you also get affected physically. So it is a whole combined cocktail of experience that a woman is going through. So you'll find someone saying, I have been diagnosed with anxiety, I'm going through depression, right? I have anger issues, I'm not motivated. And you know where all that is originating from? The brain neurotransmitters. Motivation levels are derived or determined by the chemical or neurotransmitters within your body, right? So that is why seeking psychological support and medical support is very important in addition to the social support. And when women talk about the stages they are in, then we realize we are not going through this alone. So the stigma reduces. And when it reduces, then the interventions become very easy. A mother with a newborn baby gets the societal support. Every stage a woman is going in needs to have a tribe and a community that can work with you or can support you. And include a psychologist, I'm here. Include a doctor, you know, and then include friends within your age gap. And if then, say like for 10, for her, she got her stage quite early at 38. If you realize there's someone young still going through that transition, do not lock them out, because when you feel embraced, when you're brought in a community, when you're understood, when there's empathy, then even your brain relaxes, you know? So you're not on hypervigilance mode. So the dysregulated neurotransmitters don't need to go on survival mode.
I see that. And I'm just remembering what Bishop said last week. Can hold, I give it 2 hours. Then I kind of Juliza Lakini, what was that? You know, and whatnot. So just looking at the different stages that the two of them, you know, Bishop and Wanjiru are at, and Doc, are the symptoms the same, or sometimes it's different? Wanjiru says, me experienced 120 out of the 140 symptoms that are there. So probably we can start with perimenopause and the different symptoms that we'll experience, because sometimes we don't think it's perimenopause, we just think, you know, it's all those other things.
Well, there are very, like she said, a lot, very, very many different symptoms. And I think last time I did say, while you may experience the same symptom, you will experience it differently. So there are women who will get, let's say, for example, the most obvious is a hot flash, right? And one person will be completely shut down by that hot flash, and they have to stop what they're doing. Hot flashes also have a range. So there are those that will last a whole 2 minutes, which is a very long 2 minutes, especially how they feel. And that's why sometimes I say, you know, you haven't really, okay, you've experienced a hot flash, but there are women who experience a real hot flash, which when I first read about or heard about hot flashes, it was described like 1,000 hot rods, swords, stabbing at you at the same time. And as they're stabbing at you, it is radiating through your body. So sometimes it will start at the small of your back, and then it will just go whoosh and wash over you. And people like to call it a flash with an A, but a flash with an A sounds like a lightning flash. But it's not a flash, it is a flash. It goes right through you and then back again, and then it, you know, so everybody will experience those hot flashes very differently. And so the symptoms may be similar, but you will experience them differently. So for example, there's symptoms that affect your ear. So some women get tinnitus, which is that ringing sound, you know. Yes. She was here, you're like, I cannot hear nothing. So yes, like Grace experienced tinnitus, and you see tinnitus also has volumes. So there's ones that are very slight, then there are those that are very loud, and then so between, there's that one who'll say, you know what, especially if you go see people like the psychologists and they work with you with CBT and whatever, you will be taught tips and how to, you'll be given tools how to deal with that tinnitus and maybe be able to work with it and deal with it and live with it. But there are those that it is so loud that no matter what you do, she will not be able to function at all. So the symptoms are many, but everybody experiences it differently. And that's why I keep telling women, there's only one perimenopause, menopause transition, and it is yours. That's it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The textbook, what we read, how you experience it will be yours alone. But is it also, is our diet, like our lifestyle, impacts the kind of symptoms that we'll experience probably like in 2 minutes before we go on a break?
Very true. Yes. So in fact, even geographical regions experience perimenopause and menopause differently. So you will read about women in Japan, based on their diet and their lifestyle, they have much milder symptoms than others. And when we talk about even what we are eating, and there's a book, I don't know if you've read Dr. Kamau's book, which talks about menopause transition in the Kikuyu society. What she mentioned is a big deal, and which is why I do what I do, is community. You know, community is multi-generational. So those who have been there help the ones who are coming, and then they help the other ones coming. So there's nothing that's a surprise for many. So community, which we are lacking now. I mean, everybody's told, grow up, move out, go build your own family. Your child, one is in Australia, another. Community is completely lost. So what we had and our ancestors, I believe, had a much easier time because one, they were not sedentary, they would work. Two, they had very strong community structures. And a lot of these stages of women transitions were celebrated. They were not secrets, they were not stigmatized, they were not, I think a lot of these came later. So it is important to have those communities and make them multi-generational. I think that is 80% of the work done when it comes to the social structures and supporting women in menopause.
We'll come back from the break and really focus more on, yes, the difference, some that we probably don't know, because again, out of 140, I want to believe majority of the public wanajua like 10, right? And like you said, it presents differently for different people, but also at the same time, because people say take supplements, kula hii, wachana na hii, you know, all those things that we sometimes tell ourselves. So we'll hear from you, right, in terms of the management and coping mechanisms, but also really understand the psychological aspect of it, the emotional, aspect of it. But like we said, most importantly is support. How do we support, women who are going through either perimenopause, menopause, or post-menopause? So there's so much to come on the other side of the break. If you have a question, feel free to send it our way, either on our WhatsApp number or on our digital platforms, and that is at NTV Kenya across all board. But even at that, we have a question for you, and the question is very simple, okay? And slightly different from what we asked you last week, and that is as far as the myths surrounding menopause. What are some of these myths that you feel we should break as soon as now, today, okay? So that we help so many people. We'll also go through your feedback when we come back from the break, so stay with us. All right, welcome back to the show. Of course, the conversation continues even during the break, but today we're looking at the menopause roadmap, and we're looking at navigating the emotional and psychological aspect of it, because we started this conversation last week. So if you missed the first part of the conversation, the link is on our YouTube channel, and that is at NTV Kenya. Just, go through it, really understand where we started off the conversation. But today we're looking at beyond just the term menopause or perimenopause and even post-menopause, okay? And we're looking at the emotional impact, coping strategies, as well as hearing from this lovely daisies that we have here today. And the question that we're asking you this morning is, what myth about menopause needs to be broken today, okay? What are some of the myths about menopause that needs to be broken today? Let's go through some of your feedback on our WhatsApp number, and then we'll come back and have more discussion still on menopause. But let's get to hear what some of you have to say on WhatsApp, either on the question of the day, or say if you have a question that you'd want to direct it on our way. So Philip, if we're ready, we can have some of those questions. Back there, that is the WhatsApp number, is 0769 590 762. Okay, 0769 590 762 is our WhatsApp number. So we'll go through it in just a second. But Bishop, tumekufikia sasa.
Asante.
So you didn't experience much as far as perimenopause, but then menopause hit. And you experienced some of those things that you told us last week. Don't understand, things happening to your body. You're like, who is me? Who is this person who's talking on my behalf? What are some of these other symptoms that you experienced?
I think now that
you can say
thank you,
menopause.
Yeah. There's something that I've realized is, and what I've realized is that we were taught so much about puberty. And so much about pregnancy, because we would go for clinics with our spouses and be told, this is what you should prepare for. These are the changes. This is the way the body will react. And even in school, because I was a teacher for a long time. Yeah. And in our social skills, one thing that we base ourselves on is on girls being on alert during their menses. And by so doing, would go into the science of the menstrual periods and what you need to do and how you should take care of yourself around people. But one thing that I realized after I experienced menopause, and I experienced menopause, I learned many things on my own, you know, by researching, and I thank God for YouTube and many doctors speaking, experts in this area and there. That is what has helped me to wade through the whole thing. But after listening to the doctor, I've realized that the thinning of the hair I experienced at age 38 was because of perimenopause. I realized I could no longer wear my hair. But the good thing about me, I speak. And I told members of the church, and I told everyone that, you know what, I can no longer wear my hair because now it has thinned. And from there, I started investing in wigs and weaves, and that one was covered. So I got that solution myself. But growing up and being a young adult, I saw my mom change a lot. And where I take issue is that we thought it was the diabetes that she was suffering from. But in reality, this woman had become quieter, would go to the doctor and say, this woman is going through diabetes and she's hypertensive. She's very quiet all of a sudden. And the doctor said, no, she should talk. Cecilia, why are you not talking? You know? And we thought something was making her unhappy. But now that I got into that, I'm very research, you know, I'm prone to research about everything, even the medication I'm given. So I have gotten solutions through going to YouTube, you know, and listening to other people. Like this morning, I was listening to somebody who was talking about the diet. And saying we need to take celery, and I have been taking that without knowing. I took a lot of it without knowing it would help me in one way or another. So what I want to say is that women have not been helped. I think help is coming now. You know, now that some of us have become very vocal, talking about it on pulpits, talking about it in meetings. I think even here I've mentioned it on radio. This is the time now I can see a lot of people now are talking about it, and especially in sub-Saharan Africa. That has not been discussed. It was treated with a lot of stigma. And whenever you told somebody, you know, I think I'm experiencing symptoms that are likely or are inclined towards menopause, somebody will just look at you. And by that time, you are out of yourself. Fast forward, 2020, during Corona, I was in a shop, and immediately I became very anxious. And my children were there, and I thought it's pressure. And I told my daughter, run and get me my pressure machine. My pressure was okay, but I was anxious. I could not stand. I could not speak. And I wondered, what could that be? And after about 20 minutes, I was calmer. Now that I'm hearing about the reactions, now I understand. And I think this topic and this information now should go out there. Because it makes you look like you're crazy. And you become very guilty. You're always apologizing for your reaction. You know, you get so, by the way, your reaction point, I get so worried when I get somebody who is provoking me, because I don't have the spirit of self-control. For me, I give it to you there and then. I just give it to you. Then I realize, oh my God, I should not have used those words. Because I'm so vocal, and then I don't, I'm one person that comes out as an alpha female. So once you deal with me the wrong way, I give it to you, then I say also, carry that. And I'm never suppressed.
And you're vocal, but were you like that before, or now it's more?
I was strong voiced. But not reactive. You know, I would just let things pass. I'm very calm also in my spirit. But for a period of time now, almost 4 years, 5, please don't come the wrong way, because
you will deal
you
with
get
somebody else.
You get it, and I go. But which is not very good. I think we need to see the psychologist and the doctor to help us become calmer.
Yeah.
You know, but I've gone out. The one thing that I want to say, I've gone out to change my diet. And that's one of the things that has made me lose close to 15 kilos in a period of about 4 months.
Yes.
15 kilos have gone down because I realized I was sweating, I was not comfortable, I could not sleep. And I said, you know what, something must change. Then the doctor was saying my cortisol is high, my pressure is rising. And I said, what could all this be? And I'm not eating funny. And the doctor said it could be what you are calling menopause. So I had to shed weight from November, December, and I'm feeling better.
Yes.
I'm good now.
And you look you look great.
Yeah.
You look great.
Yeah.
And also something that you said last week was you had to really advocate for yourself because you go to the hospital, they take care of this, they take care of this, but they don't tell you what the issue
they don't.
is.
I looked at the doctor in the eye and I asked him, doctor, do you know I'm in this space? And that time I had developed a lump. I think also one of the symptoms also, you develop those boils. And when I went to him, he told me go for tests. I went for all the tests that were supposed to be, and it was a boil. But he kept saying, we need to check more. We need to get to your, you know, the basics. You know what is really happening to you. He looked at my thyroid. And I think many women also in menopause suffer from that, thyroid. So he said, because I was saying, I get very irritable. And I'm not that type. I'm calm. I love people. But now all of a sudden, I did not love people. I wanted to close myself, you know, be in my room. My children come and I'm wondering, how will I treat them? So I have to force myself. But in the real sense, I want to be in the bedroom and close myself up. So it makes you very lonely. It makes you also feel like people don't want you. You know, there's that feeling, oh, I'm not being treated right. And this I confirmed when my daughter went to visit a lady in my age of a friend. And when she came back, she said, Mama, so-and-so is saying that her children don't love her. And she was advising me to love you because now she feels alone. She has no friends. You know, you feel isolated. But it's all in your...
All in the mind.
In the mind, You feel very isolated and you begin to become grudgy. And you want also to fight back, you know. There's that energy that is negative that is just begins to go through you. You want also to fight back and say, okay, if this is the thing, I will not talk to them, I will not do this, I want to stay alone. What you don't realize, the devil has taken over the wheel through menopause.
But also, we were talking during the break and just trying to understand some of these symptoms, like some we don't even know. You talked about experiencing 120. Out of the 120, which is the one that surprised you the most? And also, please point out the ones that, because like I said, most of us probably know like what, 10 at most, right? But there's so many other things that are happening. So from your experience, you also talked about the heel, and the term is very difficult.
Let me tell you, Winnie, it's been a journey. But before I get onto that, there's what Bishop has talked about you move from 0 to 360. I also believe you're dealing with so many discomforts. Your body is hurting. You are hot. You're not sleeping, because insomnia is one of them. So you can imagine if you're not sleeping, you have headaches, migraines all the time that you never used to have. You have a frozen shoulder. That's why you can't lift your hand like this. That a lot of people suffer. So all that compounds, and you find yourself, you're in such a dark space emotionally. So even if, yes, there's the hormonal changes and everything, but there's all the things that are happening in your body that just put you in a space. You know, like when you're sick, you're not happy. Now you can imagine you're feeling all these things. You're not going to be happy. So of the symptoms that really caught me off guard was plantar fasciitis. So plantar is the foot. So my heel, my left heel, remember I talked about being an avid hiker, loving the gym and all. Then you wake up one day and you can't step down. There's a sharp pain on your heel that really just shoots when you step on the ground. So I went for physio, and it was very painful because it's like the nerves have bundled up. So physio is very painful because the physiotherapists are trying to relieve that node. But it's not a node that can be relieved. So I did physio, I did all those things until I saw one orthopedic surgeon and told me this plantar fasciitis. And yours is very advanced, so they gave me a boot. You know, like when somebody has a fracture, the way they wear a boot? So they gave me a boot to sleep in. Because then when you're sleeping in this boot, it puts your foot at like 90 degrees. So who would have thought of plantar fasciitis, surely? what is that even? Then a doc talked about
Tinnitus.
Tinnitus. I remember going to the bathroom at the office, you know the swing trash cans, the metallic ones, you put a tissue and it swings. The noise that ordinarily would not disturb you, it's like 1,000 decibels. It rings in your ears, it rings and it irritates you. So of all the many symptoms, the known symptoms of your night sweats and hot flashes, for me, they came like towards age 44. I had gone through everything else without really realizing what was happening. So by the time I was getting to, and that is what happens, most people expect that perimenopause is hot flashes and night sweats.
Yeah,
that's just the tip of the iceberg. The matter of everything else is your insomnia. It comes, you have fragmented sleep, your appetite.
You said you didn't sleep for what, 3 days?
The time I not slept for like 4 days. It's fragmented. You sleep for an hour, you wake up. So that means you're going to be very edgy. You're like a ticking time bomb. Because you've not slept. So on top of everything else, you're tired, you're agitated. And it's adopting the healthy lifestyles, because you know it's something that you have to live with. So I remember saying that I was told by the doctor, do your Epsom salt baths, soak in. So you're really just adopting healthy lifestyles. Just love yourself. When you talk about community, what has really, really helped me is because I believe in owning my story. May I talk about my stuff? And I always say when you own your story, you take away the shame from it. So this perimenopause thing, before I even knew what it was, I would talk about it. Now that I know what it is, I'm like, let's talk about this thing, by the way. And even not just socially, but even at home, within the family. So my youngest is 13 and he understands what perimenopause is, because I'm like, he's a boy, yes. He has a sister, he has a mother who is going through this. Interestingly, when I was going through the thick of these things, I was dating. So when you say you can't date and get married, so I was going through this mayhem, I was dating. I was also getting married. And what helped me, even my husband, and us get through it is really just talking about it. Because you'll wonder what's wrong with this crazy woman. 1 minute you're good, the next minute you're...
And then you see, as a human being, would want to show our best side, right? And we
this
want
one
to
you have
hide.
no control over.
It will come when it comes.
You have no control over.
And Nancy, can we just pick up from there? And also basing on what Bishop talked about, that I wasn't this person, then all of a sudden I'm this person, and I don't even understand what is happening. Like, how do you even support self? Before we even ask support from outside, how do you support yourself through this period that sometimes you don't even understand what is happening?
So I'll start with sleep. Sleep is an important and necessary, let me say, ingredient. The way you cook food and you feel like, if I don't put salt, that's not a complete meal. Even when the doctors tell you not to take salt, somehow you resist it. Sleep is something that you have to have, and you have to look at how many hours are you able to cover, and how can you at least, even if they are fragmented, have sleep hygiene that will help you improve on that. There are many interventions to that, because when you don't sleep, your mood is affected, your motivation is affected, and generally, even physically, you lack energy. When I say motivation, that is in terms of productivity, like work, you know, reasoning, thinking. So it becomes limited because your brain is not ready to also overwork itself. So sleep becomes a necessary thing for every woman going through transition.
But can we stick with that for a second? Because again, like when Jiri said, she tried, but she can't. You force yourself to bed, but you can't. And they're like, I don't want to say rituals, but you know, some of the things that can help you to at least get a few hours of sleep.
There are women who experience the heat flashes or whatever it is. A calming bath would improve your sleep, right? Also, the temperature within the room which you're sleeping in. Also checking maybe your bed sheets or duvets or whatever it is for them to be soothing enough. During menopause is when a woman should learn to love herself, right? And do this without shame, by the way. Do it without shame, right? Invest in the things that give you comfort. Observing that you're not stimulated, like the kind of shows you're watching, you're not too much on your phone, you're not finishing work you know, just before bedtime, because then you have to land the plane. Sleep does not happen like a zip. You go in bed and whoo, you're out, you're knocked out. It should be a journey, it should be a transition, and it should be enjoyable. Then there are people who respond well to a cup of chamomile tea, you know. There are those who say cocoa also works for them. So it's for you to explore and see what is your body responding to and what helps improve your sleep, right? And also being physically active so that by the time it's towards night or when you sleep generally, your body is exhausted and is also forcing you to recover. Right? Because if you're not involved in physical activities, even the body is not, what is it recovering? What's the use of sleep? So it's to help you regenerate cells, right? So if then there's nothing to regenerate, will you go to sleep? So those are some of the intervention I'd think at the top of my mind that can be useful. However, when someone comes in for therapy, we explore much deeper and beyond that, because every individual has experienced life differently and have different choices and resources available to them. So some things may be applicable to some and some might not be applicable.
I say that, because Doc said, you go through it, your symptoms are the same, much as, no, they're the same, but you go through it differently. You know,
then Grace mentioned her mood changing. Her mom became more quiet. For her, she became more sensitive. I'll go back to the conversation on the hormones and what's changing within your body, right? So anxiety will happen. So for Grace, she is very sensitive and hypervigilant and aware of her surrounding, and for her, she's very solution focused. That's why she will speak. She will say it. She will correct you, right? Because that's how she's wired. Maybe for the mom, she was a bit more cautious. She needed to internalize, reason it out, and then find a way of communicating it, right? So it's important for people within their environment and have family support or social support that can be able to point this out to you, right? So when the doctors maybe told her, why are you not talking? You see, for you, you become very, okay, so now I'm not talking. You go more to thinking about, why am I not talking, right? But if you're exposed to a community that can, you know, point out this, I've noticed this about you, and you used to be this way. I miss when mommy you were talkative, you know? Or maybe for my friend Grace, the children saying, I'm being told to love you more, but mommy, do you feel like I love you? Then that conversation then normalizes the experience for the person and brings them out. So for the ones who become more reserved, they are brought out by an embracing environment and support. And those who are very expressive are, you know, regulated by an environment that can create room for safe conversations, right? And then now we become more involved and more productive and more happier. Every woman, life is a journey for everybody, right? But the changes that women go through are a little bit more than the male gender, right? So you have to enjoy the transitions you're going through. Instead of seeing them as difficult and hard and limiting, find ways of enjoying that transition you're going through. Because you'll only have that period when maybe 10 years between 40 and 50. No, it cannot be more expounded. So what is it that you're doing to harness or to, you know, harvest the joy when you can get the joy? So if you then go into recovery and your body is telling you, because you also have to listen to your body. When you eat something and your system is not responding well, you have to understand it's not good for me. So when your body goes into recovery, you're not feeling like I'm losing out, I'm missing out, because you had cultivated on what is joyful when you could be joyful. Yes.
I see that. Doc, we're due for a break in the next few minutes, and I do not want to rush you through it because there's several things that they've said that I'd want us to pick on. on. And also when we're talking about menopause, I mean, we all know it's a natural occurrence that would happen to a woman's body at some point. But then again, we also have other causes like surgery, for example, and even medication for cancers as well. So the presentation is the same, and then also the management. So there's so much to also pick from there. So please, let's go through the feedback and then go on a break, and then we come back and pick from there. But the question that we're asking you this morning is very simple. What are some of the myths that you feel we need to break as soon as now, as far as menopause is concerned? Let's see what you have to say. So this one says, I am Joseph Wright Odhiambo. Do you think it's true that when a woman reaches menopause, her love life, if we can remove the graphics so that I see, her love life does what? Unhappy, oh good. Her love life and happiness comes to an end. Daktari, this is a question for you, so probably we take note. And then this one says, good morning, Winnie and the panelists. For me, I used to think that only shows are the ones who were experiencing menopause, but our lifestyle has moved our menopause closer. Daktari, can someone in menopause, can someone experience menopause and get pregnant? Okay, 2 questions for you. And then this one says, hello, thanks Winnie and the team of experts on your world for discussing this topic that's disturbing most of us women in our middle years. Can someone address the growth of facial hair in menopause? The first time I found a long hair on my chin, I was devastated and embarrassed to ask anyone about it. Since then, a few more have come up. Thanks. Okay. And then this one says, hello, I'm watching from Makadara and loving the message and the panel. Thank you so much for watching. And then this one says, hi, my name is Anyango Caroline. I'm aged 51 and my menses still flows regularly. My worry is, can I conceive so that I continue using contraceptives? Okay. And then this one says, hi guys, my name is Young Duke, tuned in from Vasha. Please, DJ, hiya, nicheze glory by Joshua. Kweli, that's Friday. Hiya. And then this one says, good morning, I'm Judith. For how long should one experience hot flashes? Because I've gone through hell in the last 9 years, okay? Is there anything I can do to stop them? Okay, and then this one says, palpitation is killing me. At times, I at times scream midnight. How will I overcome this? I am 48, but still on periods regularly. Okay, then this one says, good morning, beautiful ladies. This is Nemama from Narok. Aki, I really thank God that stuff like this can be discussed on national TV. You have no idea what you're doing to all the ladies in Kenya and the whole world. I have gone through hell on earth, not knowing what I am suffering from, because no doctor would tell you all what I'm hearing now. I used a lot of money. My children have gone through a lot. I'm for sure going to hold a meeting of apology. What? And then this one says, hello, this is Faith watching you from Nyahururu. The talk today is amazing. Thanks. My mom is passing passing through what you're talking about, and she did not understand it. Now we get it. Oh, that's a good thing. And then this one says, hi, Winnie, thank you for the show. Kindly, is hormonal therapy good? If not, what is the best natural ways to combat peri and menopause symptoms? Okay. And then this one says, hi everyone, you look wow. Nataka munisaidie. Mimi nilianza kupoteza periods na nikakaa for 1 year without receiving. Then after that, I had a very bad signs for periods. After 1 week, I started receiving a drop for 1 week. And then before, nilikuwa na hot flash. I know, hot flash, help me with what to eat. Hey, several questions. Tupumzike kidogo, Doc, it's a lot, but also the ladies here can help, but especially with diet. And I also want to know from you guys, what are some of the things that you had to do to at least help yourself, before we also ask support from others. So there's so much to come from the other side of the break. Just stay with us. The show is Your World. Back to the conversation this morning right here on Your World on Wellness Wednesday. And today we're talking about menopause, and we're just looking at the emotional and psychological impacts of the same, but also looking at support system, okay? What kind of support do we need to offer the women around us, okay? Whether it's our mothers, it's our sisters, it's our friends, cousins, anybody, okay, who is around you would need that kind of support. What does it look like? Do we wait for them to ask for support? Ama when you notice, kidogo kuna kitu haiko sawa, do you offer, that kind of support. So it's so much that we're covering today, but there were so many questions. Hey, Daktari, tutaanzia wapi tumalizia wapi? Let me see if are there some that you can remember, and then others I will go through.
You read
it's a lot. Okay, Aya. Let me read for you. So this one says, So this one says, hi Winnie, thank you for the show. Kindly, hormonal therapy, is it good? And if not, what was the best natural ways to combat peri and menopause symptoms?
Okay, so the question about hormone therapy, is it good? It depends. Hormone therapy is not for everybody. There are some people who qualify, some people who don't qualify, but it is okay for most women. Now, that is something you discuss with your doctor, and you can figure out if it's right for you. Of course, there's those risks that come with hormone therapy which may eliminate you as a candidate, but the window of elimination is getting smaller and smaller the more we are finding out. So a lot more women now can be on hormone therapy.
Okay.
And then the way you can handle it through your diet, of course, the main hormone that is declining for us is estrogen. And there's a lot of plant-based estrogens out there. So yes, you can manage some of your symptoms using plant-based sources. The only thing is, for some women, they say, after a while it stops working or whatever, but it's because the kind of estrogen found in plants is not the same estrogen that we find in our body. So it's not exactly what you need, but yes, it does relieve symptoms for some, yes.
I see that. And then there's another one, the concern on facial hair as well. So please tag that with this one that says, for how long should one experience hot flashes? Because I have gone through hell for the last 9 years. And this is also a question that was asked amongst one of our staff here. It's like, zinaisha lini zo hot flashes? Because
Okay, we go back to the discussion, to what I always say. Your experience is your experience. So for example, the one who's growing hair on the chin, it means, she talked about neurotransmitters. There's actually over 10 different substances in your body that are being affected. We talk about the hormones, but there's the neurotransmitters and many other things. But let's talk about the hormones. Usually when you find a woman who's growing hair on the chin and sometimes on the chest, it has a lot to do with her testosterone levels, which means your testosterone levels are now a little bit higher than the others. The off balance is that your testosterone is remaining high because all three, testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen decline, but they decline at different rates. Testosterone tends to be a little bit more gentle. Estrogen and progesterone do this, and that's why the mood swings and all those other symptoms. So it's a sign of that. And sometimes you even find that even your voice will become a little bit deeper. It just means that now you're a little bit hyper testosterone, so to speak. Now, how long it lasts? The textbooks will tell you 2 to 10 years. But to tell you the truth, again, it's your journey. Some people I personally have been in perimenopause for 14 years and counting. But then there are women who will go 2 years, and then she's talking about now she's feeling some relief, but it could also be the interventions she's doing. So there's a mentality that, okay, now perimenopause is the crazy part, so it will get easier in postmenopause. There's no such thing. It is everybody's experience will be different. Majority, after 5 years postmenopausal, things do tend to ease as far as hot flashes and all that are concerned. But I also said there are women who never feel perimenopause, never feel anything in postmenopause until they turn 72 and get a hot flash. So everybody's symptoms and experience will be very different. Yeah, so the 9 years may sound like a long time. There's really no textbook number that I can tell you it's gonna end at this time.
After 2 years, you okay? No,
there's not.
And then someone, this one says, palpitation is killing me. At times, scream at midnight. How will I overcome this? I am 48, but still on periods regularly.
So what I tell women, when you start experiencing the palpitations, remember what we say. And I think there may be some misinformation, something we need to go back to, because we say, heart disease is the #1 killer of women, which is the case. But first go and rule out, like I said, some of us got the palpitations, then you go, you see your cardiologist, your cardiologist says we can't find nothing, then that will probably point to perimenopause. Don't take the palpitations lightly. It could be many other things. But if you go see a specialist and they tell you it is not your heart, then you can, of course, then draw the conclusion that it's perimenopause. But do not ignore palpitations.
Yes. Okay. And then this one says, this is from Joseph Wright Odhiambo, who says, do you think that it's true when a woman reaches menopause, her love life and happiness comes to an end?
Winnie, you mentioned earlier, do women ever catch a break? We are shamed, we are this, we are that. I tell women, even part of your menopause transition and your experience will be based on your attitude. Part of the questionnaire, the pre-consult questionnaire I share with women, one of my questions is, what is your attitude towards menopause? When you have been told your sexual life will die, your romantic life will die. In fact, I met a lady, she was in her 72, she was 72, she told me, as we were told, once we dried up, they even call it dried up in vernacular, then we are no longer human beings. So she said, I might as well be dead. So I've been moving around for 15 years dead. You know, and I said, when your attitude is like that, and that is information that is fed by the society, right? Menopause is one of the most liberating times in life because, one, there are so many things. Life is so clear. You now have clarity. You're now speaking your mind. You're no longer coddling people. So there's a certain outlook you have towards life that can either make or break you. So it needs to be positive. One, not everybody's sex life is affected, but even those who are, there are things that can be done to improve it and make it amazing. I mean, for the first time in our lives, we're having sex without worrying about pregnancy. You know, for the first time, we have decided we are sticking to what, you know, you have one partner now for the rest of your life, and you're like, no more worrying about STDs, no more. I mean, there's so much else off your mind at that time, which actually presents a space to reinvent yourself even in your sex life. That is when I find women, I see women both here in the US, you know, some go and start exploring their sexual life. They buy their first sex toy. They start experiencing it with their partners, you know. It depends on what your attitude towards it is. And if your attitude is negative, you will have a negative experience.
I see. All starts in the mind.
It starts in the mind.
So this one says, for me, I used to think only for sure, and then the question is, Dr. Can someone in menopause, can someone experience menopause and still get pregnant? And then there was also another question on 51, and you know, they think they're still experiencing their periods, and they wanted to know if they should start contraceptives.
Okay, first of all, as long as you're having a period, it means you're ovulating. It means you can get pregnant. Those are the children who are born, you know, for picking slippers and scratching your back. You know, so as long as you're having a period, that's usually a very difficult place for us as practitioners, because this lady does not want to get pregnant, but she's still menstruating. But hormone therapy is not contraception. You know, the dose of hormones in hormone therapy is so low, it's not going to prevent pregnancy. So usually with women like that, we have to find ways to give them, to have them protected, but at the same time, not affect their bodies as well. Because there's some women who don't do well on contraception. So there are options in the market that will give you contraception and also help you with your hormone therapy. I mean, hormone therapy needs, and that you discuss with your doctor. But yes, if you're still ovulating and menstruating, there's a good chance, yes, you're going to get pregnant.
Hey, hiya. This one says, I think still on hot flashes though, like, kindly help me what to eat, and also they're asking for your contact.
Okay. So what to eat when you're having, there's a lot of, first of all, either you want to go supplement way. And I tell women, don't over supplement. Supplements are not cheap. Supplements, and they never come with everything you need in one. They'll put, you know, but there are certain things in your foods, which we call phytoestrogens, which mimic estrogen. She was talking about celery. She started eating celery and she realized, oh, this has actually been improving my symptoms. So there are foods, you know, the ndomas that we used to sneer at, the yams that we used to sneer at, all those have phytoestrogens. So find the foods out there that have phytoestrogens naturally and kind of make them part of your food. But of course, the dose in those is very few. In fact, when we go make hormone therapy, we go to the yam, we remove the phytoestrogen, we take it to the lab, we make you a tablet or a patch, you know? So it's actually the same one. It's just that now we take it there and we concentrate it so that you're getting clinical value from it. So I tell women, look into your diet. And because we live in Kenya, let's say Kenya, because now we've become a melting pot. Every community in Kenya has something to offer. So look at who you're living around, learn something from them. You know, unfortunately for us Kikuyus, we used to say, unfortunately for us Kikuyus, we only have cabbage and spinach. But we have offered you a very good vegetable called cabbage, because we were told cabbage was useless. Now it is great for the microbiome, it is great for this, and we were thinking, oh my gosh, we're eating such an empty vegetable. And then you go to Western Kenya, they have so many different greens that also contain phytoestrogens. And when I say our ancestors handled this differently, it is because they ate those foods.
Yes.
And if we could go back to those foods and less of the processed foods, our symptoms would be much milder. That's why Japanese are not suffering so much. They still eat their fish, they still eat their seaweed, they still eat, there's certain things in their diet that support them. Now, how you can reach me? I am available on social media. First of all, I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I'm still not that brave. And also on LinkedIn. My phone number, our office number is 0785 716 124. Again, so 0785 716 124. And just send us a WhatsApp if you want to reach me. We also, I need to tell you this because I'm trying to educate as many women. Because like last week I said, if women don't know, they can't be helped. And they can't help themselves. I want to tell women that on the 21st, we are screening a documentary on perimenopause. Last 2 years ago, we did menopause. And then many of the women who are in the groups were like, you know, we are not yet there. I said, okay, now they've done another one for perimenopause and kind of to highlight how much perimenopause is the toughest. I think it's the toughest because you're still in your productive years, you're still growing careers, you're still raising little kids, and then this thing hits you. And so on the 21st, we are screening this documentary, and then I want it to be a conversation about what we need to do as African women. I mean, I can come here and talk to you about hormone therapy all day long, but I want you to learn what to eat, what our ancestors did, what can we do now to incorporate that. And so we have amazing guests on that, you know, on the panel after the show to talk about our indigenous ways of dealing with menopause. And a lot of it had to do with community, intergenerational community, what we ate and how we moved and the attitudes that we had. You know, when we say, oh, we can't talk about Vituza Wamama amongst men, when you read the book by Dr. Kamau, it talks about how every season, even when your period started, your father was informed. You know, and then he would bring people together to celebrate that part. It was not a thing of men and women. I don't know where this came from, where society divides. And in fact, we can't even live without each other. So it's very nonsensical. So I want to encourage women to come and watch that documentary. You can get your tickets on MOOC, and you can find our information. But our website is www.womenshealthcafe.org. And you will get the tickets, and I want women to show up and learn because I don't want everybody running for hormone therapy when we have other ways to do it.
To deal with it. Fantastic. And also the question on yes, the natural occurrence, you know, menopause, perimenopause, but others who have gone through, you know, like surgical processes that, you know, some of the reproductive organs have to be removed and then exposes them to menopause. Can we just talk a little bit about that, and then we'll come to the ladies to understand how they are managing?
Okay. So there are women there are different ways people go into menopause. One of them is naturally, like everybody else. Another way is chemically. For example, when you're going treatment for cancer, a lot of cancer treatments will throw you immediately into menopause. And then there's surgical menopause. Now, in the olden days, we used to do hysterectomies and remove everything. We remove your cervix, your uterus, and your ovaries. But then, of course, it was discovered that the ovaries can still remain, unless they are at risk for something else, but the ovaries still remain so that they can continue producing those hormones that you need. So we no longer remove everything. We leave you with your hormones, and that way you don't start going into immediate menopause. But what I realized is a lot of women were not also told that even though we left your ovaries intact, and of course that forces you into menopause, meaning you're not having a period, right? Because the definition of menopause is 12 months without a period. So essentially you are in menopause. But at the natural age of menopause, let's say you had your hysterectomy at 33, at the natural age of menopause, or sometimes sooner because now you don't have certain parts, you will go through menopause. You may go through menopause. So you kind of feel like nobody told me, but at 48, my life went crazy again. So that's something I find women were not informed. So it kind of blindsides them at that point because it was not anticipated.
I see. All right, Bishop, so after working, when the hospital you fought, and finally you knew, what was going on, what was causing all those things.
Winnie, there's something she has brought out that has reminded me. I did TL.
Okay.
Tubal ligation at 37. I just decided I'm not going to have children anymore. The only thing that I felt after that, let's say maybe 3 years later, is desire. A very strong desire to have children. Very strong desire. And I was feeling less of a woman. So I think at 37, that's what I did. And then I got into that space of feeling, you know, less of a woman. I'm very depressed and what have you. Then I talked to one of the pastors. And I told her, this is what I did and this is what I am feeling. She said, I also did TL. And that's what I've been feeling. So I think talking of what you're going through helps you a lot.
100%.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
I want to say that I've also made it my business. I tell women, I'm in the business of saving uteri. They're called mini uteri. But the reason why we are doing that is because we've realized those little interventions that we think have no effect on the woman.
They do.
Because in fact, when you go for a TL, you go for TL, then you go. No one follows you up, right?
No.
Nobody ever asks you, how are you feeling about this TL? We now think that every part of that reproductive pelvic area of a woman, from the ovaries to the urethra, everything has a function. Because there are women who go through procedures like her. You see, you can think it's just a TL. But the effect
3 years later.
and what endocrine function was that tube doing for her to feel like that. And we found that the ones who are speaking now are the ones who've had uteruses removed. And they're saying, since that surgery, I have never been the same. Then the doctor will tell you, but we left your ovaries. You're saying, even after those ovaries were left in place, there is something that went
very
wrong.
drastic, very drastic.
And it is drastic, and very few women talk about it. So now we even were talking with one of the grief counselors, she's a pastor also. We were saying we need now to create a grief process for women who go through procedures like that. Because you see, as soon as it was done, she started yearning for a baby. So what was that? And I can assure you, it was not a thought she had in her brain. It just came up based on whatever was tampered with in the process. Otherwise, she was sure she wanted the TL. So why is it that after that? And many women get a procedure, uterus removed, cervix removed, something, and something changes within them. And we believe it is neurotransmitters, hormones, and something. Those parts of your body have something to do with the rest of your body.
It's like a whole system.
It's a whole
that needs to function together. So Bishop, I was going to ask, so understanding that this is menopause, right? You talked about exercise, you're watching your diet. Just take us through all that and how that has helped you, you know, manage, like he said, if it's anxiety, you're able to pinpoint and say, this anxiety is coming from, you know, this, and how you manage it.
I want to say initially it was difficult because I thought it's something that I would just walk into a doctor's office, tell him what I'm feeling, and they resolve it. But I realized he was more concentrated on my pressure, my thyroid, and other things, and gave me medication for other things other than menopause. And I was telling him, Daktari, this is what I'm going through. Then I told him, and I'm on supplements. He asked me, give me those supplements, let me see. He took a picture, he Googled, and he said, okay, I will not say much about this. They're not bad, but, and you know, I had self-medicated. You know, the supplement was mine. So when I left that office sometime last year, that is around October, and I was really overweight. I was already 97 kilos. And this, the fat is not going, and I'm trying to exercise, I'm trying to do what, nothing was going. So I went home and I decided, you know what, I have to drop some certain things. I dropped sugar. I reduced on my intake of wheat, totally, almost totally. Yeah, and then unless it is really whole, once in a while. Then I increased my intake of celery juice. And Uma, as she said, I increased it. And all that I was trying to read. Because now I'm frustrated. I'm pushed in a corner. I've seen almost 3 doctors. And none of them wants to address menopause. Says it's a stage you must pass through. And you are going to be okay. Immediately I realized I needed to increase my exercise. And I began to play my golf on Friday without fail. Walk those many kilometers. And then Mondays I do table tennis, not table tennis, it's called badminton, which makes me run and causes me to sweat so much. And after that, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
There's that happiness that comes. After playing golf, there's that happiness. I'm tired, all right. What Nancy said was really applying to me. You know, that happiness comes, I shower, and now I can take my chamomile tea and then be able to sleep. But I want to say this. Regarding sleep, I had to go for a supplement because she has talked of 3 days.
Yeah.
For me, it was weeks and weeks. And I want to say thanks to this NTV, yeah, and this Your World, because you kept inviting me. At that time, I was just off. And I would grumble and say, I don't want to go. But then when I come, interact with people, I would feel better. So it felt like a sickness, but through reading and research, I realized it's not a disease, it's what you should go through. And then I enjoy now that drive out of home. I enjoy that drive. I enjoy gardening, you know, looking at my garden, planting of this and that, something that will take me off. And then now listen also a lot to many people. I don't want to advocate for people going for supplements. I don't do that because you're told you can take this, you can take that, you can take that. And many times I think of my kidneys. I say, you know, also, you can't take everything that you are being told out there without a guideline of a doctor. And that's why we have doctor here. You have to be guided. But I almost got into that temptation because you are told this is good. Vitamin D is good. I don't know what is good. And you want to take because you are in a corner without any help.
And you want something that will help you.
I also talk to my children a lot because they were wondering, I could see they then moved out of home. Yes, they moved out of home. They said it's because they wanted to do their things. But I realized I was lashing a lot. And they got to a point and said, and I could see it's a gang up, which made me almost scream and say, you know, we are not going to support you. All sorts of things a parent can say. The children moved out of home and looked for a house somewhere and said, Mama, we'll be seeing you on Saturdays. But recently, that's why I was saying I've really improved. I've come out of it in a big way. Now they are so interested in being around me. They used to leave home, come on Saturday, we go to church. Sunday evening, they leave. But now they are staying up to Tuesday.
Oh, good.
So that means that this...
the environment is getting better.
The thunder has subsided. Oh my, I'm winning.
The thunder has subsided.
So now they want to be around me. And then there's the bit of loneliness. And I would tell my husband, not even there for me, you know. So he started coming to, when I lock myself in the room, he comes. When he's there again, I want him out. I have seen what you are telling me. Okay, can you go? I want to sleep. I want to sleep. So I want to say it's a journey that you can't say this is the solution and this what. I think it's good to work with somebody. Now that I'm listening to both of them, the psychologist and the doc, I think if the years were to be taken back, I would start off with them because I like help a lot. I look out for help. I cry a lot. I'm a person who cries out. Unless you don't listen, like when I came and I was not hearing, I told her, you know, I'm not hearing during break. And that happened when I was seated. So in my mind, I was thinking, do I walk out? What do I do? I can't hear the next person. I was lip reading her because I've been here a number of times so I can tell what she's saying. But nothing else. And I went through the show. You know, I was not also getting feedback on myself. Like now when I'm talking, there's something in preaching, we put some speakers so that you get your feedback. That helps you to now continue. I was not getting feedback. And when I went and listened, I felt, oh, what was I saying? Is this what I was supposed to say? But you realize I was trying to get, you know, jug all around. But I informed them, I told them, you know, I'm not hearing you guys. I'm just here, but I'm not hearing you.
And that's a good thing, to talk about it and just let people know that this
just
is what
like
is happening.
what Jiro has said, speak to anybody that cares to listen. I speak to my house manager, I speak to anybody, I speak to, you know, everybody must know what Bishop is going through.
So when they see you, they're like, hey, Father, they don't run away. Okay, we're due for a break. I do not want to rush you to again into understanding what are you doing now, what has helped you over time, and are you scared about menopause now that you have sort of like quote unquote tasted what that is like? Are you concerned? Are there things that you're probably like doing to at least help your body and your mind as well? So there's so much to come on the other side of the break. Please do stay with us. And the question that we're asking you is very simple this morning. What are some of the myths about menopause that we need to break as soon as now, today? Okay, we'll go through your feedback as well. There you have what myths about menopause needs to be broken today. Let us know at NTV Kenya across all board on our digital platforms, as well as our WhatsApp number. So, we'll read them after the break, but do stay with us. We'll see you right after. Welcome back to the show where women, we talk. The conversation still continues during the break. And today we're focusing on menopause, okay? The journey and the emotional and psychological impact of the same. But also we're saying support. How can we support, the women around us, the women that we really, really love and cherish, and, our friends, our mothers, our sisters, aunties, okay? How do we support them during this phase? And we're asking you, what are some of the myths about menopause that we should break as soon as now, like today, right now, okay? Before we go through some of the feedback, so Bishop has said exercise, celery, all those things. And there's some of the things that you've also probably tried, probably done to at least help you during the season. Like Doc said last week, there's a moment and there's the season.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is a season where you throw everything you got at it.
Yes.
You take your celery and pineapple juice in the morning, you do what? But for me, because my symptoms were really, really heavy, as in the night sweats, there's the hot flashes, as Doc was saying, you feel like you have 1,000 sweats. I was trying to explain to somebody what a hot flash feels like. You can't. Feel like a fire has been lit in you, and they have poured that gel for a shine motor. Then it's just going.
Yeah.
Then there's the night sweats. The night sweat is you wake up, you're sweaty, as in you're wet. The bed sheet is wet and everything. I remember the time I would sleep by the window because it's chaotic. Now you can't sleep. It goes back to you being edgy and moody, and because you can't sleep.
Yeah.
And not just because of your hormones, but because you're hot. Anyway, so one of the things I do, I've always really been big on exercise. So now I can't walk, I can't hike because I have knee issues, I have plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
So, and then we're also advised to lift heavy because when you're lifting, you're building the muscles and everything. So at least do weight training 3 days a week.
Okay.
I walk, I cycle, I golf as well. I do as much as I can, as it becomes a way of life. Because yes, you get tired. And it also helps the feel-good hormones flow. So you're easy, you're calm, you can be able to do your work, you're a good person to be around. Then there's also the diet. You're dealing with weight gain, you're dealing with all the issue, lactose intolerance and stuff like that. So it kind of works out because wheat and all those things, you know what they do for your weight. So it's adopting a healthy lifestyle because we all know, as you're told, health is made in the kitchen. So it's eating your whole foods, going back to the farm. And I think also in midlife, you have a heightened awareness of lifestyle diseases because you have so many people around us who are getting sick. So other than perimenopause, just adopting a healthy eating lifestyle. So I do a lot of veggies, I do whole foods, I will do lean proteins, I do a lot of juicing. So that's there in terms of nutrition. And just really just being calm. I walk away from trouble.
Okay.
Because I know I'm easily triggered and I know I can tell you things that I cannot take back. I'm the kind of person be like, hang on, I'll be back. I will go and just think about it. By the time I'm coming back, I want to come back and say, make sense. I want to come and address the issue. So as opposed to blowing out and yelling at people, I'll be like, let's talk in an hour. And that has really helped in terms of emotional regulation. But it helped because I was aware. I knew what I was dealing with. I knew I was not going crazy. So there's this thing that I have to find coping mechanisms. And one of them is emotional regulation. Then is the community. Like, I mean, Dr. Kafugo's big community of women where people share the things that they're going through. And they're like, I am not crazy. Because women are sharing what they're going through and they're going through them so silently, they don't know what it is. But when you find yourself in a community of like-minded people, professional women, business women, mothers, older women, younger women, you're validated. And that helps you as you're dealing with whatever life is throwing at you. And then also in terms of your friends group, talk about it. And remember the last time we came and I was like, there needs to be a AC here. So even when you're going out, just go like, by the way, where we are going, we need to be able, can we sit outside?
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just really knowing when to speak up, to be a self-advocate. Self-love. Like the way she talked about now, you need to make sure your bed sheets and everything.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because you need to be comfortable for you to actually even be able to sleep and remove clutter. Realizing that it's never that serious. The things that we're stressing about, it's never that serious. Just ensure that you're in a good mental space. If you need to speak to a therapist, if you need to really listen to gospel music, whatever works for you, do it to get in a space. And back home, to where you have the circle of the people that you're living with, because sometimes you can be good to everybody else, and at home, you get into the house, everybody scatters.
Yeah.
Bishop has just said the way her kids moved out. So it's really talking about it. And as I said the last time, you don't want to be always going like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I've lived.
Yeah.
It's ensuring that everybody is is in your tribe, is your support team. Yeah, so that has really, really helped me, even as I'm dealing with them. But because, as I said, my symptoms were all over the place, I took HRTs for a year.
Yes.
Because I was like, I'm going crazy. I had a bag of supplements, I don't know, magnesium, name it. And as Doc is saying, there's only so many supplements you can take, and they're not cheap. And also, what are they doing? I mean, by the time you're taking 8 supplements, surely, and you're eating healthy and you're doing all that. So I felt I needed the help to just calm down, be sane. Then the anxiety, the imposter syndrome even, because you're dealing with so many changes at the same time. You can start doubting, you know what you're talking about, even professionally. So for me, I did HRTs for 1 year. And among the side effects, one of them was weight gain. So you have to be extra vigilant what you're consuming. You have to move a lot as well. But what they did, they helped me just gain sanity. They helped me be normal. I remember one day just slipping through and I didn't have night sweats and I was like, oh my goodness. And getting into a room and you're not removing clothes. So for me, that was really, really useful and they helped me. So I have taken a little bit of a break because I'm talking to my doctor. So as and when I need to go back to them, because I'm saying I'm going through all the nonsense that you can go through, then imagine. I am open to. But as of now, I think my hormones are kind of okay and I'm eating right. The little things, compounded effect of all the many little things I'm doing, I can see the fruits.
And celebrating like a day after at a time.
Yes, I think we should talk about what the triggers of, especially the hot flashes, which seem to be the ones that really show. And I say hot flashes have no sense of humor. Or they do have a big sense of humor. They have no respect. They are no respecter of women. Because they, first of all, they are triggered by the things you love. You know, those who love coffee, they coffee,
wine.
caffeine. Wine, red wine is the devil when it comes to hot flashes. Yes. And night sweats. So you'll go out in the evening, you'll have 2 glasses of wine. It will affect your sleep. In fact, I said, it's no wonder our parents stopped drinking at some point. The alcohol refused them. It was, then they all went to church because that's the only place you find community anymore. You know? So they stopped drinking and moved to church. That is why. So the triggers, you know, spicy food. You know, you've always loved your pili-pili with, you know, and then all of a sudden, here is the pili-pili affecting. Sugar is a big one. And you see, we are those people who drink tea, a little bit sugar, a little bit this. And unfortunately, again, it has no sense of humor, or a big sense of humor is that milk in there has some lactose too, which is also sugar, you know? So the little sugars that you consume here and there are part of those triggers. But the one that gets me, that really I feel is so unfair, is sometimes excitement, right? So here you are excited about something and you imagine you're having sex and all of a sudden, of course, that is going to heighten your excitement. But do you know it's one of the most common places where you start having a hot flash, you're here having an orgasm, you don't know whether you're coming or going. But any kind of excitement. So it's like, okay, so am I supposed to just stay dull and just be, you know, which is a very confusing thing for women, you know, which, you know, so when people say, oh, you know, your libido goes, there are so many moving parts.
Actually, from the comments last week, a lot of it was geared towards libido, and they're like, oh, it goes in this.
Yeah, and then you can imagine, so you have to stop, especially if you have really hot blood, you have to stop, wait for it to subside, 2 minutes, by then you're like, you know what, I lost interest.
You know, I do not watch it anymore.
Yeah.
So oh dear. So
also your
excitement brings issues. Like, okay, the question again, do we ever catch a break? But hey, there are things that we can do to sort of like help with the diet, exercise, and all
and
those
why
things.
I say it needs to be multi-generational is so that now we teach our girls what to do now. You see, I say it's very hard when I'm working with a woman and I'm like, you know, you are not eating flaxseed before. In fact, it's flaxseed even natural for us, you know. But if you teach your children from when they are children to eat what will be good for them, then they will have a much easier time than we do.
Yeah, because I was about to ask, are there things that we can do now? Because we are listening to these stories of like, hey.
No, remember we've been raised on farms with all the chemicals that went in there. We are eating processed foods. We have pollution like no one's business out here. All these things culminate in some side of it will come out in one way. So I think it also contributes on how we experience menopause. But if we teach our children the basics, the moving, the exercising, the eating, the meditating, there's so many tools you can use naturally, but they have to come, you know, with children, when you teach them when they're young, they're here in their 20s, 30s, they might stray, but in their 40s, they'll come right back when things start making sense. So, but it has to be taught at the beginning, because it's, I find it very hard to now start telling women, you know, like even celery. Were you raised with celery in your home?
No.
Those things, in fact, the way I know celery, other than now the way she does it, it's because I lived in America and used to stuff it in the turkey. I mean, other than that, it's not a natural thing for Africans to have celery.
It really isn't.
So it becomes very hard when now we are reaching into other countries to find. We have it here. We just need to dig a little bit deeper. But teach it to the children now. And that's why when I tell women, you know, when you're talking to girls about periods and menstruation hygiene and whatever, I'm like, I need to be in the room, because I need to now tell these children, you're going to manage your future now. So that this is what you'll anticipate. And if you do this now, you will have a much easier time. Because they're also watching their mothers in perimenopause and thinking, my mother is falling off. Something is going on.
Calling those games. Okay, and Nancy again, because now I'm thinking, this woman has to go to work, right? And sometimes goes through this journey alone. And where they get to work, sometimes they snap, and everybody's like, this one, you know, and then we're like, stay away from them. So that supporting all these different spheres, we've talked about support at home. Let everybody know this is what is happening to me, and they know how to support you. But then in places of work, business, even places of worship, how do we support the women who are amongst us to at least make it easier for them?
Wow, that's a good question. And I like to look at transition at any phase in life. You need to have your 3 pillars with you. So social, we can expound that to also work. For example, if you're at work and you're having a panic attack, we have raised a lot of awareness, and we do mental health talks in corporate organizations so that there's no stigma that is associated with that reaction when you cannot control it. So equally, even a woman going through menopause and you're having a heat flash, a lot of women who come to me tell me, I ran to the toilets. You know, they quickly run somewhere where they hide. And if someone walks into that room, they experience shame, right? It is a stage, it is a process, and so you need to embrace it. So last week, I talked about advocacy. Today, I want to talk about embracing and being curious. Be curious to learn how you can regulate when you're experiencing maybe a palpitation. A simple exercise I can mention here is, if you feel your heart racing, hold your wrist out just below, I don't know if the camera can zoom in, right on my wrist here. On this point, press it inwards for about 2 minutes and keep hold of that. Say you're in a meeting and you're going through palpitation. When you hold your hand like this, nobody will tell what's happening, but then you're helping your nervous system to start directing blood flow to other parts of the body, as opposed to the pressure being within your heart or the brain demanding a lot more of that. So be curious to learn, what can I do? And based on the kind of work that I do, there are those who you know, maybe your occupation requires a lot of mental input. So you need a lot more clarity so that you can function well. There are those who their work require more of the doing, the physicalness. So be aware of what is it that you're feeling so that you don't overexert yourself and you're not able to be productive. So that's the social pillar. Then the health pillar. Okay, so you guys talked of beards. Beards happened at 18, you know? So you're having a beard at 18, and at that time you're in school. Who is even taking you to be checked whether your hormones are regulated? You understand? So, so health is good to know. Go to your doctor, go to your gyna when you have the chance, when you're doing your annual medical cover. By the way, you should not renew your medical cover without doing an annual check, so that you know where you lie and what's probable that you're going to address, right? Because health does fluctuate at one point or another. So when your health is in check, then you're equally in check. Then the third pillar is your psychological pillar. Who is that mental health practitioner that you work with? And how much information are you aware of? Because too much of it also is poisonous. Right? So you need to have the right amount of knowledge or information that is supportive and helps you to progress. So for that career woman, you know, going through post-peri or menopause itself, your advocacy, your awareness and caring for yourself is the first most important stage. Then educating the people around you, not going to talk about your personal needs, you know, or your, you know, just the topic is about you, but, you know, being able to say, this is the match I can be able to deliver at this time. Can I get support here? You know, because if you ask for help, you will receive it. But if you don't ask for help and you keep hogging, then you'll find yourself with a lot of pile up and you will start experiencing burnout. You will not deliver and so on and so forth.
I see. Yeah. And even, Bishop, in places of worship as well, because we said this woman, she does not just stay at home. She goes to work, she goes to church as well. So, like, how do we make that environment safer for them? Because most of them will be like, yeah, wacha niongee na pastor, na tuseme pastor hana information, you know, to support them. How do we also support women in places of worship?
Winnie, I want to say that, just like I said yesterday, the church has become very judgmental. And I'm a pastor, but the church is one place that is very toxic. Because I learned that when I was going through all the chaos, one of the women said, I don't like being around Bishop anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And when I was told that, I became grudgy. You understand? But when I looked at the person much later, not many months ago, I found the person is also going through that. So her comment about me is because she was also going through the same, you know, and that, therefore, by way of information, I got it. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. We need to make the church a very safe place, and I think the way we'll make it safe is not by using Bishop to say it, because Bishop, first and foremost, is navigating through menopause and what have you. I think it's to have talks, bring specialists, psychologists, just like we're having this panel, for people to talk about us all, because the pastor has no information. You know, the pastor is also being alienated, is being set apart. Oh, I'm a change. She's no longer spiritual. Oh, she's moody. Oh, she's this. She has changed. I will not come near her. I don't want any appointment with her. So what I want to say, the platform of the church, and this I'm speaking to all ministers of the gospel, we need to bring people from out. Have a doctor come in, speak to the women, have a psychologist, or, you know, come in, and all that kind of information will help. Because honestly, my information is from the Bible. So if you tell me to talk about menopause to anybody, I'll be talking about what I'm going through as a person, not from an informed perspective. Like the way she has said it, there's something I've gotten, there's something I've gotten from Nancy, and I think I'm a better person for myself. You understand? But one thing, Winnie, I will tell you, when somebody is going through menopause, I normally get it. When I look at the person, what they're like, I went to Kitale for a function. I sat with a friend of mine, and Mweshimiwa there, and all she was doing is dripping. Hey! She was just like this. The next one also, who had traveled from out of the country, was doing the same. And I was looking at them. After everything was done, I said, you guys are in menopause. My dear, what are these? And you know, they were just, you know, but no information whatsoever. So I think Daktari and Nancy here, they have a lot of work to do so that they help and get into that space, that platform. For us, we'll share what we are feeling, and that's what I want to share, what you feel, and don't take it like a sickness, but see somebody. Yeah, because otherwise it can be crazy.
I want to give credit to the PCA church. I have been invited many times. Now, I run away from the ones that ask me to speak in vernacular because I'm very insecure. But I want to say the first church that invited me to speak was the PCA church, and they have invited me severally to give the conversation. And then the one that I'm giving this week, I think I'm talking to the Adventist church. So the church is coming, and it's understanding what she's saying. You know, the pastor is not the expert in that area, but it also needs to be shared in a way that it is not judgmental and it is not stigmatizing. This is also true.
All right, Wenju, you had something to say before we go through some feedback?
I'm a HR practitioner and I have been for the last 18 years. And one thing that we are seeing a lot of organizations also doing, they're considering this in their medical covers. So it's something that was never used to be discussed. And it's something that's very important. Also in how the spaces at work are built. There's one organization in Kenya that has taken this into consideration. I understand even when they're doing PPEs for their ladies who are middle-aged and above, they're using a different kind of fabric. So that's really, really good.
Consider it.
Yeah, because I guess when I was younger, before I got to understand menopause and perimenopause, you get into an office and it's ice cold, and you go to reduce the AC, and you can see there's a lady at the corner looking at you like, don't you dare. But you don't understand because there was no education. So I think also in the corporate space, because the women who are going through this are also in spaces, corporate offices and stuff like that. The people who are negotiating the medical covers, the health cover companies, also to consider these, because it's a need that there's nothing you can do about. And you go to the hospital, there's no cover for this. Whatever supplements you need, you have to get them out of pocket. It's not covered. We need whatever. The workspaces, they need to be well aerated. And also educating the people so that the young and the old are able to coexist. You're not suffering over there, sweating. And there's nothing you can do because and nobody is even supporting you because people are like, no, that AC is too cold. And you're like, I am dying. I need it to just be a little bit cooler. So those conversations also really need to happen at the workplace. I know it has started happening, but I guess that's also a very big space where people are suffering and suffering very quietly.
I see. Nancy, you were also talking about something on endometriosis and whatnot.
Yes.
So are you able to do that in like a minute and then we'll go through feedback and then come back?
Right. So we've talked about menopause as a transition, but we do have a lot of women who are suffering endometriosis, and sometimes because of the bleeding, which is not controlled, the treatment they are given makes them now it triggers menopause. So they start experiencing the heat flashes and lack of sleep and mood issues and dryness. And so you find that a lot of them will come in for therapy because they're having relationship issues. They are dysregulated in terms of mood. They cannot hold a conversation. Every conversation becomes an argument. So this is a call for you out there who is undergoing an endometriosis treatment to also be aware that it could trigger menopause, and so you require to work with a specialist, and at the same time you also require to come in for therapy, so that if there are some skills that are not amplified, we help you amplify them so you can have healthy relationships. And on that point, I'd like to mention that on 21st, as Dr. also has an event, I do have an event which we call Unveiling the Queen. It is the 6th year running. Unveiling the Queen because the woman goes through different transitions, and sometimes you don't know when it it all converges. So we have women of all ages and experiences and professionals coming in. We will be at the Boulevard Hotel from 10 a.m. So reach out at us, at Hisia Psychology Consultants, get your ticket, come learn and hear what other people's experiences are and grow yourself. This year, you're rising beyond limits.
Hey, what's to go through one or two feedback and then But this conversation, again, even Doc, you said, it's not just for women of a certain age, it's for everybody, and the earlier the better. All right, let's go through your feedback before we say goodbye on the question that we're asking you this morning, and that is, what is that one myth that we need to break today as far as menopause is concerned? Okay, so let's see what some of you have to say on our WhatsApp number. Philip, if we are ready. Yes, so this one says, I am 45 years. Can I conceive? Doc, before we go to the rest? Yes, no,
yes.
maybe?
The answer is yes. You can conceive if you're still ovulating.
Yes.
Okay. And then this one says, hello, I'm so happy you have brought this topic today. Started my menopause at 45. It was like a big blow to me. I would pretend I am on my menses so my friends don't get to know about it. The hot flashes were a real frustration. It caused my self-esteem to go low. I took menopause tabs. They didn't help. It took me time to accept it, as I could not share my experience with anyone. Now I'm 47 years and I have accepted the transition, as I've met other women my age whom we share our experiences with. I assumed the intense fertility treatment I'd undergone for years since I couldn't conceive was the cause. Oh, I see. Okay. And then I think that's the last one. Okay. All right. Watch out to pause today and say goodbye. But sure, this is a conversation that we can even continue next week. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Okay. And thank you so much for coming. We've learned so much from the conversations today, but let's keep it going even on our YouTube channel, and that is at NTV Kenya. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.